Oh, sorry. I had another screen open. I was wondering. Oh, welcome, Talking Fight fans, to another episode of The Scoop with the champ, Bola Ray. I was a little distracted there, checking the screen. Apologies. How are you tonight?
Very good. Thanks.
Right on. All right. We've had an exciting, almost 10 days of fights and fighters and rivalries. What do you got for us tonight?
Well, this fight this episode is about a fight between two legends that studied each other's game so well that when one decided to change his strategy just a smidge, it almost caused an upset. In this scenario, the winner lost credibility, and the loser, his credibility went through the stratosphere. My name is Bola Ray, and this is The Scoop. Marvin Hagler's career road was genuinely one the less traveled for a reason. That no one would give him a chance to fight for the world title until his 50th fight. And after that, big paydays would just not materialize for years. Tommy Hearns was to fight him in early 82, only to have the fight postponed because Tommy had hurt his finger in training for the upcoming fight. After the fight got completely scratched, Leonard invited Marvin to a soiree in Baltimore in 82, later on that year, where Marvin was expecting the announcement of their fight post Leonard successfully going through a retina reattachment surgery. It was a fight that Hagler wanted. It was the fight that the world wanted and was looking for. Only to have Leonard get up on the podium and for the first of many times announce his retirement. Now, Hagler took this as a slap in the face. Like, why did he need me here to hear this? Hagler went on with his career, defeating and defending his title against worthy opponents, but no big money fights were to be seen. Meanwhile, the former lightweight sensation and disgraced welterweight in some people's eyes, because he quit. Some people see him as quitting against Ray Leonard. Roberto Duran was a complete another story. Seen for the most part as washed up, the public's opinion changed after a fourth round stoppage of Pepino Cuevas. Shortly after that fight, a TV network contacted him and invited him to do a public sparring session, 4 rounds, with a Hagler, of which he agreed. Now, in doing so, post this soiree, he realized that Hagler's not that much bigger than him. So he was already on the road to fighting for Davy Boy Moore's WBA junior middleweight crown at this time. So he called up Bob Arum and said, post that fight, he'd like to fight, he'd like to have a dance with Marvin. June 16th, 1983, Madison Square Gardens, Hagler was at ringside. And after Duran's exciting 8th round knockout of Davy Boy Moore, Hagler was almost as happy as Duran because he knew that his next fight was going to be, he's going to be able to make more money in that one fight than he would, or than he has, in the 61 fights prior combined. Hagler went on to sign for $5 million. And Duran was getting 1.5 million. Plus, they were to get royalties, which added up to a substantial amount more. All was great as the two athletes signed their contracts, but the nation wasn't really excited. Yes, they were two legends and what have you, but or future legends for that matter. But you have Hagler, who was younger, taller, stronger with a granite chin. Going up against Duran, who was a lightweight god, and now at middleweight, he was struggling to beat top 10 contenders. But there was a very little anticipation for this dance in the public. But the reality was, Duran had one monolithic advantage over Marvin. And that was he had been there and done that. The super fight, he's been in super fights before, so all the media attention and the swarming of fans didn't faze him at all. And Hagler was very much a recluse. Locking himself away for training camps in complete isolation, just getting angry, just focusing on dismantling his opponent and building anger towards his opponent was his MO. He didn't have the fans that Duran did, and all the media attention that he had in this fight really played with his head and threw him off. Sources said that leading up to the fight, Marvin looked noticeably shook. But that impact could be due to the overwhelming expectation on his shoulders, too. Because keep in mind, Marvin was a favorite for this fight. And with that came the expectation of success. Could Marvin be the first person to stop Duran? He stopped everybody thus far since he won the world title. Could he be the first person to stop Duran? He was expecting to win in an exciting fashion, a lopsided to boot. What if it doesn't happen? What if it doesn't play out that way? The pressure was really starting to pack on to his shoulders. The next question that came up was the potential strategies that could play out in this contest between these two champions. Marvin was a fierce competitor with an air of a seek and destroy about him within the squared circle. But actually, Marvin was an incredibly highly skilled boxer who, with his exceptional footwork and counterpunching, first and second, and destroyer second. Because of his past fights, Duran showed to be an aggressive, straightforward fighter. So Marvin trained anticipating just that, concluding that he's going to be aggressive, so he really worked on his counterpunching skills. Duran's an absolute genius. Full stop. He totally anticipated that this after studying the fights with Antier Formo and Simpson with Marvin, concluding that being aggressive would lead to an early night with Hagler giving a KO as opposed to accepting one. So Duran prepped to be a counterpuncher. Now, you have to wrap your head around this. Duran is going to be a counterpuncher against a taller, longer reached, stronger man. How does that work? He's going to stay on the outside and allow him to throw first and then react to that, making up the distance as he retracted his punch. It was positively brilliant. And it was actually, it threw everybody, including Marvin, for a loop. Armed with his insight, the fight ended up being seen as a non-classic fight, but for the boxing purists like myself, this was absolute gold. I can't imagine what was going on in Marvin's head with the start of this fight. In the early rounds, true to his game, he was cautious. That's Marvin, waiting for this raging bull to come in because that's what he saw in the tapes. He's supposed to be coming in, waiting for Duran, but Duran didn't. He kept composed and waited for Marvin to launch the attack. And Marvin would launch these half-hearted jabs and whatnot, which he didn't anticipate doing anything afterwards. So Duran would slip them and come back with something ferocious. The crowd would go wild, and he won the first 4 or 5 rounds this way, simply because Marvin had no idea what the hell he was doing. Like, he would throw these punch out, and he'd sit there, wait for him to attack. He wouldn't attack. He'd throw a half-hearted jab out there, only to have him come back and counterpunch and then swarm inside. Something wasn't right. The 5th and 6th rounds saw Marvin pick up the pace and hammer Duran. Duran actually started to tire, or at least showed that he was tired. His mouth was gaping open and breathing hard and slumped over in the corner also. The crowd started to boo. Sorry. The assault on Duran was, in the 6th round, was evident that the bigger, stronger Hagler could, and most likely would, finish this fight before the final bell. He actually showed and proved that he could take this fight anytime he wanted, which is what a lot of people suspected in the first place, but hadn't seen any sign of it until now. Now, being Marvin, his nature was to be cautious, actually, and he didn't go outright to kill, but chose to outbox Duran, and that's what he ended up doing, and won the next 4 rounds, easy that way. Now, something that happens in the 11th round, which was deemed just didn't make sense. Marvin decided to dance. He just danced. There wasn't much of a punch output, and to the point where the crowd started to boo. He gave Duran much needed time to catch his breath, and then Duran did what Duran does and attacked him and mauled him like a mad bear. Duran ended up winning the next 2 rounds via this taking his foot off the gas pedal scenario. Okay. Now, one of Duran's main target was Marvin's left eye, which had started to swell and was noticeably bad. Upon the end of the 13th round, Duran was up by 1 point on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards, and the third scorecard was even. Who would have suspected this? They thought this was supposed to be a cakewalk for Marvin. Duran was up, winning the fight at the end of the 13th round, 2 rounds to the left. Goody Petronelli, Marvin's trainer, told him in the corner that he had to come out and win convincingly the next 2 rounds. You can't make this a close fight. You have to win these last 2 rounds. Another factor that comes out of this fight is that apparently in Duran's working so hard in the 13th round, he ended up breaking his right hand and struggled with fatigue for the remaining of the fight. Now, couple that with the 14th round opened up and Duran was a completely different beast. He came out swinging, ferocious, doing just like his corner told him to do, and he won convincingly the next 14th and 15th round in this fashion, coupled with the fact that Duran was injured and fatigued. Upon the conclusion of the contest, Marvin ends up winning the fight by a narrow margin, a very close margin, even though some of the spectators thought that the fight was it should have been seen as a 9-6 Marvin, but one judge had it Marvin winning by 8 rounds to 6 with 1 round draw, and the other 2 judges had Marvin winning by 1 point. This was easily Duran's fight to win. But upon the conclusion of this fight, Marvin's stock decreased because it was seen as if this fight was not supposed to go the distance. Whereas Duran's stock skyrocketed out of the stratosphere. He was seen as a hero, a juggernaut, a heart for days. There wasn't enough people could say about him. He is the only person that went the distance with Hagler in 3.5 years and the sole person to go the distance with Hagler since Hagler won the world title. You know what? Impressive feat all the same, but sure. Hagler openly said, hey, why don't you all give me some credit? I just beat a legend. Why isn't that good enough for y'all? I thought I did a great job. I have to give myself a pat on the back. The fight won Ring Magazine's Fight of the Year from 1983. So I'd like to say thanks for the memories. This fight, unfortunately, was not seen as a classic, but I would argue that it was. And Duran should be seen as the intelligent boxer that he actually was. The smaller, shorter reached Duran figured out a way to get inside on not just a taller fighter, but one with the pedigree of Hagler. This strategy should be studied, and this fight should be used as Exhibit A. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Now, that's the episode, and if you like this episode, please smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. With your boy Bola, that's the scoop.
Thanks very much for the scoop. That's
Cheers.
A great analysis of a great fight between two great fighters. Well done.
Yeah,
that's.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, those are good days back then. Out of curiosity, when does Tommy Hearns come into this? Does he come in after?
Tommy Hearns is tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah, I have. I'm doing 2 fights tomorrow, and both fights have Tommy Hearns in them.
Tommy Thursday.
Tommy Thursday.
All right. That's cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much, and thanks very much for all the viewers tuning in tonight. That's great. Look forward to another episode tomorrow.
Fantastic.
And Friday. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.